Welcome, everyone. Today is Friday, May 8th, 2020. This is our second podcast in the series of Fresh on Off the Boat. And it's so new that I can't even get the name right. So it's called Fresh Off the Boat, and it's directed to people, students I've worked with who are in a kind of a limbo, who are planning to go to college this year and are stuck, or even the ones who are graduating and I've known them. So 2020 is an odd year, and we thought like, okay, we should definitely lighten up the mood and talk to everyone and communicate. So it can't hurt. So today we have two very dear students I've worked with in the past volunteered to join me this morning. There's Malika Kapoor, who lives in Calcutta now, but went to Denison University in Ohio, and Anand Virmani, who went to Babson College in Massachusetts, near Boston. So the interesting thing about how this came about was a common interest in entrepreneurship. Malika recently announced a new venture. She, by the way, graduated in 2014, if I'm right. And Anand,
18.
Okay, 18. You went to college. In my books, you graduated in 2014. So for
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You graduated from Denison in 2018, but as a high school student, you graduated in 2014. And Anand, who's kind of almost a decade apart, and I've known him since 2004. So in my books, he graduated in 2005 and went to college and then graduated in 2009. So your journeys somehow overlap, and there could be a deja vu for Anand and for me because, given I'm kind of a independent education counselor, it's very entrepreneurial. You have to dig a hole, you have to find families, you have to service them, grow the business, also deal with changing situations all the time. So I might pitch in a little bit about entrepreneurial journeys too. But this podcast is not just about entrepreneurial journeys. So over to you, Malika. First, I'm going to switch the order which we had discussed, but tell us more about what a Denison education was for you, and how did you see that evolve from day one to maybe end of year one, and then gradually towards graduation? So it's a very broad question, but focus more on the initial experiences and what you thought about it.
So for me, hi Arjun, thank you for firstly having me on this chat. I'm very excited to build new connections and then even reconnect. But for me, jumping right in, Denison, I say it pretty often, were the best 4 years of my life. I think I got really lucky with the college choice and just having and growing and building a family there. And educationally, I think it was everything I could have asked for. I was pretty clear going in that I think people generally tend to switch majors, but I knew broadly what I'd be studying because I was clear of my interests from very early, on in school as well. And I think I connected with a lot of Denison folks before I went there, and it was just so welcoming. From the moment I stepped foot, they call it the college on the hill, I felt like I was just a part of that entire energy and vibe. And I think the biggest thing it did for me was just broadening my horizons, because I met so many different people from so many different parts of the world. Especially in my major, I was a communication and international studies double major. So for both those fields, it generally has people who have a more broad outlook in life and a little bit more worldly, so to speak. So just connecting with them, understanding their cultures, understanding their journey and what brought them there, and even eventually being a part of so many different organizations on campus, whether it was a Denison International Student Association or something which I didn't think I would do, but I joined the community of religious and spiritual life, and that is responsible for my interest today in Vedanta philosophy and all sorts of things that even brought me closer to my roots, sitting so many miles away. And I think overall, now that I'd jogged down memory lane, Denison was a very holistic experience. Of course, it gave me the academic backing in terms of being able to have a reason for everything I do and finding meaning in things, but more so it made me just a more it made me a more complete and whole human and a world citizen.
Great. Yeah. So I'm sure there'd be something common there for you, Anand. Go ahead. Why don't you tell us about your Babson experience, early days? I know it's ages ago, but go for it. And maybe you can connect it with your graduation experience also, because how did maybe Babson help you choose the wine industry major eventually that you did as your master's program?
Well, firstly, that Malika, that answer was a little scary because I felt like my journey was a little more, haphazard. Um, I think somehow what you communicated felt like, you knew what you wanted, you went for it, you got it, you're back. Whereas mine was more of not having any idea, standing in the SAT line, getting approached by someone who handed me a brochure about what Arjun was doing and saying, "Oh, okay, there could be other colleges to apply to." It was really a very naive approach to colleges and the whole admission process, etc. that I had, which was at that time driven by my parents. I guess it is a bit of a generational gap. At that time we didn't have access to too much information. I guess not that the internet wasn't there, but it was still almost like dial-up situation. We used to hear funny sounds before we could get online. Um, so in terms of getting to Babson, honestly, Babson was the first. I think we did early decision on Babson, and did not know about such things. And Arjun helped me through that entire thing. I'd never heard of Babson before. So, and even to most of my friends at that time. Now when I say Babson, people are like, "Oh, okay, I have a couple of friends that went there." Oh, it's the entrepreneurship school and everything. And at that point, didn't even know that they could teach entrepreneurship, and wasn't really keen on it myself. No one in my family had been an entrepreneur, in any sense that I can remember. It was all like government jobs, etc. So going to an entrepreneurial school was a bit funny, because I actually wanted to do finance, and the reason we ended up choosing Babson over a couple of other choices was because they had a great investment banking program as well. But I think of the 400 kids that came to that college that year, I think probably I was the only one who used that as the reason to go to Babson. Funny. Yeah, so I guess first year, Arjun, you asked. First year was great. It was completely something I had not prepared for, but it was fantastic because first time kind of being away from home, suddenly kind of being thrown into this group work environment, which just was not the thing in CBSE, at least. Where CBSE was all about, here's a book, learn it, take tuitions, and come back and give an exam. So falling into group work for the first time, learning how to deal with people, learning how to work alongside people was fantastic. I remember one of actually the best classes that we had, and this was a business college, right? So pretty much everyone's learning business, but the first year and a half or so, we also had to do liberal arts. So one of the best ones that I remember having was Rhetoric, where they would stress upon public speaking. And I was frightened as all hell about public speaking. I don't know if Arjun remembers this. But yeah, so that's been something that's really helped me out a lot in life. And you would think Rhetoric A, Rhetoric B, it's not really going to matter so much in your life, but those little things did add up, and little things did matter. And like what I said, I went in with the whole finance mindset that okay, I'm gonna be looking at doing like investment banking or maybe stockbroking as I graduate. Year one pretty much laid rest to that, because year one in Babson meant we all had to. There was a program called FME, or I think it was first year management experience at that point. Now they've renamed it to something else. But basically, it meant that we as first year students had to go and pitch a business, start a business, run a business for a full year, and then close it at the end of it and sell it off, which was huge. Again, not something I had known about. If I had known about it, I would have definitely gone for it. But it was a very, very, very good surprise. It was a great learning experience because in my mind, I thought finance, all right. For the company that we started, I handled all the finances. So I had the title of CFO, which makes you feel huge as a first year whatever person. But while I enjoyed it, while I loved it, it gave me the realization that this was not what I wanted to be doing for the rest of my life. And it was a huge realization to have pretty much in year one, because now here I am in this college, which I went to for supposedly finance, probably the wrong college for finance. And now suddenly not wanting to do finance. So what else? And that's where, while I was kind of still looking out to see, okay, what else can I do? In second year, there was a substitute professor actually who gave us a case study on wine, and that absolutely turned me. So and of course it helped that that the professor was super passionate. He had his own family vineyards in Spain, so he was able to talk from experience. Um, you know, got speaking, and he was literally the first professor I had the kind of luck and or whatever you want to call it, to kind of go and spend some out of I think it was called it was those visiting hours. So took advantage of those visiting hours. It's been a while. And went and sat with him, spoke to him about this, and spoke to him about how to make this newfound dream into a realization. And he advised us, why don't you go do a study abroad program, and said, oh, we can do that. And somehow ended up in New Zealand for 6 months, working on a project with one of the professors at University of Auckland on the world wine industry. So it was great. But having said that, and I know we're in a weird time right now. The last weird time that we faced was in 2008, 2009, the recession, right? And that's when we graduated. So no one was getting jobs. Babson was one of those places that pretty much everyone would get placed. But 2009, we graduate, no one's offering jobs, no one's got anything. We're like, so for anyone going to college, maybe I don't understand, but for anyone graduating out of college, we kind of get what you were going through. But yeah, so was lucky to find a job at that point doing something I did not like, which was consulting. But persevered, and while I was looking for a job in the wine industry, managed to get a job in the whiskey industry, which again was a blessing in disguise, because honestly, I would have, I would not have enjoyed the wine industry in India, at least. I think going into the spirits industry kind of absolutely changed it. It was close enough to what I had, what I envisioned, and at the end of the day, only about 3 years ago, I was able to launch my own business, which never, while going into Babson, I never thought that I would ever be, having my, starting my own business at any point. So in one way or another, Babson really kind of steered me in a very unknown direction as far as I was concerned, but I'm all the happier for it.
That's great. I think it answered 3 or 4 questions I actually had lined up later on.
Sorry.
So that's
I'll just be quiet now.
No, definitely. I think it also gives us a good foundation for the rest of the talk, because we can move we can move kind of fast forward and discuss things about the moment that we live in today and what everyone's trying to do to be part of this particular situation. And I think it's very important as a message for students to hear from both of you as to how you make those decisions, how you deal with situations which are beyond your control. And I think the reference to the 2008 financial crisis was interesting. And I'm sure many more such, I hope not, but people who are resilient will be able to deal with many situations which come their way. So again, switching gears, and I'm focusing more on the work that you do currently now, Malika, and also see the connection with what you studied in college, or maybe the mentors that you found. Anand answered it quite well, where he said, one professor led to his understanding of the wine and spirits industry, and that led to a summer abroad, etc. But how about you? I know this new venture which you've just launched is very exciting. Initially, I didn't know how to pronounce it, but your website made it pretty clear. It's Ownism. So it's something that you take ownership of. And we keep talking about that from like ages with our students. The first email that goes out to a student is take ownership. And we are not going to be driving this car for you. So And the whole idea is it resonates so well with life coaching, mentoring. And if you're in a leadership position like Anand is, to help empower people you work with, even empower your customers to get to know how to make the right decisions and live in the moment and be happy about yourself, your surrounding, the people you can support. So tell us more. How did this idea come out? And was there an influence which goes back to Denison or your college experiences?
So yeah, so I mean, I've always like I feel like as a person, I've just been very, very outgoing, and like I've always loved bringing people together. And in college back then, like I would host like I mean, it sounds frivolous now, but like I would host like all the parties. It was always in my apartment. So and I just like there was some thrill that I got out of just bringing people together, and it was like not just like for meaningless activity. I would like put in thought and like curate like okay, let's do like a conversation over wine and cheese, or let's do like a cultural event. Like I was in a leadership position at the International Student Association, so I was responsible for like even just hosting like all these multicultural events. And then I was a fellow in my international studies major, so that meant like even doing a lot of outreach and connecting with alum and like getting people to talk and building connections. So I feel like that's something I always enjoyed. And then when I moved back and I graduated, I was trying to find a way like how I could do that, like just bring people together in real life and have like spend some meaningful time and still make something like a business out of it. I mean, for me, it's really too early to speak whether this will even like kick off or no, because it's literally so new. But I feel like it's something I'm passionate about. So onism as a word, it just means like it's a word coined by man to like fill up this void in the English language for an emotion we all experience, but there's just no word for it. So it's basically that feeling of like like you said, like owning yourself. It's realizing that we're all confined to a single reality by virtue of being in one physical body, but there's just so many experiences out there that one is yet to get to in life. And so what Onism by Malika like aims to do is build these bridges. So as a digital platform, I hope to interview like a lot like change makers and thought leaders and have like meaningful conversation. I know there are plenty of them happening right now, but I feel like there'll be like a different angle to it, because people often talk about the industry and they talk about like okay, what's going to happen in this post-corona world on all these webinars, but there are very few platforms where they're sharing their story and like here we're like sharing like what brought us to where we are right now. And I think like for the millennials especially, like it's important to the packaging is what matters. So if it's packaged in a way that's appealing and in a way that's interactive, like they're bound to listen and tune in. And right now I feel like there are platforms doing it and there are influencers, but there's still like a void of like meaningful conversation. That's like what's happening digitally. But then on the physical offline service world, like that's something that I hope can kick off the moment this coronavirus ends. But it's basically curating different experiences. So I mean, I think the days of like spending your money on like tangible materialistic things are going to be soon behind us, and the consumer's going to get really smart and sensitive as to where they invest their spare earning in terms of like, especially with the recession that's to follow. And I think people are soon going to realize the value of an experience over a commodity. And I think that's already happening with my generation, where people rather go on a holiday with their friends and family as opposed to like spending on even a home and a car, which were considered to be traditional purchases. Like there is the shared economy with like Uber and Ola and stuff. Like the millennials are changing the way they think. So I think there's going to be an increase in them seeking these experiences. And being in Calcutta, which is a city of like art, culture, and so much history, there are so many different like ways in which this can like be catered to like the younger age groups, because we're in the city where there's so much to offer recreationally, but yet people find themselves at the closest pub or at or like just like doing like mindless, like they'll just I'm chilling, but they're chilling doing nothing really. So like it's kind of like catering to that need as well, to like have something more authentic and a close to cultural experience by curating different, like whether it's a an art gallery with a live art exhibit, or whether it's just like a dining in the dark experience and all those kinds of things. But yeah, like I think like where my college days brought me to this day right now is from just the idea of like bringing people together and like having like enjoying and taking pleasure and thrill in that. And I feel like this way I can do it for larger groups and for people who I don't know and still like achieve the same pleasure.
Great. I think it's kind of sums it up, like the wholesome life that we all yearn to lead, the relationships and the meaningful sort of connections that we want to keep and maintain. Uh, these are some of the things which are extremely important for mindfulness, and having that social glue, whether it's online or offline, is critical. So the authentic experiences, and I think, Anand, segue into what your company does now, Spirits, is, I don't know if I pronounced it correct, if there's some interesting way to do it, but now is fine. NAO, Spirits, and the two very amazing launches of Hapsa and Greater Than Gin. These are artisanal. So again, it's sort of bespoke, artisanal, very millennial sort of, vibe to the whole thing. And that's a common thing between both of you. And I'm sure, Malika, you probably have one or two questions regarding this as well. So if you want to jump into it and ask your question.
Anand, I have both your gin at my house. I got them for the call.
Well done. Wow.
And I'm sitting in Calcutta. It's not even available here.
Can you show it to me?
My dad.
Yeah, can you show it again?
Is available.
Yeah.
I really need to see it.
Also got this.
Okay, great. So that I'm the only one who doesn't. Probably I'll just use my Aladdin ka chirag. I'll be the one who will be drinking off it. Like, okay. So yeah, it helps. So thanks, guys. Cheers. It's early morning here, but well, yeah.
It's early morning everywhere. We're all in the same time zone.
Oh yeah, exactly. So fine, you never know. You start early, drinking too much, too soon, and this is what happens. But anyway, so it's great. Yeah. So switching to the question, Anand, like, what is this whole millennial marketing to you all about? And your gin is like, Malika is a consumer, and you have it right there. You didn't know, and it's just crazy that she has it. So tell me more.
Yeah, that's awesome, Malika. Thanks, man. Thanks for having that there. But Greater Than is now available in Calcutta, so you can find it there. I don't know if the whole lockdown situation and all is allowing.
So these my dad actually got from Goa, and he's got them before from Delhi as well, because my family's been in the liquor business for like 3 generations. So
what?
So he, yeah.
So you're the one, like, stepping away from it, saying, let me do something else.
Well, she's trying to make it. She's making people drink in an interesting environment.
Yeah. Okay, you're creating
it's
the environment
for people. Creating the experience, the gin experience, like DIY gin with your girlfriends, and like I'm gonna still carry on that thing, but just in a different way. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, my family had nothing to do with alcohol. Well, alcohol probably has nothing to do with, but not in the business of it, at least. So when I got in, it was a bit of a shock to them. They say, "What you want to, you want to be marketing alcohol or selling alcohol, or what's going on?" But I think, Arjun, to your question, which was, sorry, I've forgotten it now.
Yeah, so it's basically like this whole marketing to a millennial generation.
Marketing to a millennial generation. It's not something that we thought we'd be doing. Honestly, it was something when we came up with the concept that, listen, we want to do this. It was fairly selfish as well, because we're like, listen, we don't get to drink good gin, and honestly, I couldn't afford buying Gordon's or Tanqueray, Tanqueray probably, because Tanqueray was one that I liked. And there's nothing really interesting in the gin market, and like I said, I just fell into spirits, right? 2009, 2010 was when I got the job. One of the while it was a whiskey company, one of the brands in their portfolio was Hendrix. Now Hendrix is super popular right now, but at that point, just the category no one wanted to touch. It was one of those things that we would invite people for a Hendrix event, and people would say, can I get a glass of wine instead, or can I get can I come and get a whiskey or a beer? And we're like, nah, but we invited you for a gin event. Try the gin. No, gin is for older people. It's for women. It's for all sorts of weird myths around it. And we're like, okay, clearly India is not ready for it. Fast forward to 2015, where we just started a wine, coffee, and cocktail bar in Delhi, and people are coming and asking us for Hendrix with tonic and slices of cucumber, and Tanqueray 10s with not just regular Tanqueray, but Tanqueray 10s with grapefruit, and we're like, what's happened? you know, clearly, and it was great, right? Because after having worked at, you know, on desk jobs and marketing and, you know, like company roles, you know, coming down and starting a bar itself was great because it gave you like the real exposure to, you know, customer feedback. And, you know, you're speaking to customers every single day. You know, they walk in, you say, you know, listen, here's a menu, what can I get for you? The kind of insight you're able to build through those kind of things is incredible. Um, and yeah, I mean, looking back, most of them were probably millennials. You know, millennials. I don't know if I fall into that category anymore. I'm not sure. But yeah, so, you know, so being there, hearing them out, and kind of being surprised by the fact that people were asking for gin again was really what kicked it off. And I think in terms of targeted uh, how we've targeted millennials is just by making a product which we thought millennials would like. Not because we love millennials and, you know, we're like, oh, we want to please them or anything, but it's just again, it was part selfish. Like I said, you know, we wanted a gin ourselves, and it so happened that millennials as a whole also wanted a gin. Um, and yeah, I think in general, millennials kind of help you with the marketing, or even Gen Z. I don't know. There's this whole, you know, there's millennials, now there's Gen Z. I think they help you with the marketing because word of mouth is something which, you know, we've thrown around in our marketing classes, etc. Obviously, a long time before, but you know, it's word of mouth at the next level where they get super involved with the brand, and they will kind of advocate you know, the brand, you know, because they've read so much about it. They've reached out to you. So many people reach out to us saying, listen, you know, what size pot still do you use, and you know, where do you get your juniper from? So these are regular customers, regular consumers. You know, almost initially when I started getting these questions, I was like, oh wait, there's someone else who's going to go out and make their own gin, which is why they're asking me. No, they're regular customers wanting to get into it, wanted to be geeky about it because they want to talk about it. They want to be able to go out and speak about the gin that they're having, rather than just say, oh, you know, I'm having, you know, XYZ gin, or beer or whatever else. They just want to know about it. They want to know everything about it, and almost justify to themselves why they should be drinking this, why they should be consuming this. So in that sense, the new age consumer cares a lot more about what they put into their body. You know, we all started drinking Old Monk and you know, Blue Ribbon and all that stuff. But I feel at least you know, there's less and less of that happening, and people are more passionate about what they're drinking, and as a result, actually, what we've seen, at least in the younger generation, is that you know, people are drinking less, but they're drinking better. You know, so it's not so much about copious amounts of alcohol. Though Malika would have just come out of college, so I don't know if I can say the same thing about that. Again, no judgments. I have no idea how Denise is. Denise in colleges. Having said that, Babson was not a party college at all. You know, so we only, yeah, probably American Pie references. But yeah, so you know, one of the things we found is definitely that people are drinking less, especially the younger audience, but drinking better, and that's why we ended up calling it greater than. Right, it's about drinking greater, not in terms of volume, but in terms of quality. So it's about caring about what, you know, what kind of gin you have, what kind of ice you have, what kind of tonic you have, what kind of glassware you have, and then, you know, kind of putting a little bit about you know, yourself also in there as well.
That's great, actually. You know, I think, Malika, you can actually ask questions to Anand, because it's sort of, I see the connection that you want to curate experiences, and the customer, the millennial and Gen Z customer, is also, like Anand used the right word, geeky, wants to kind of also get into it, dig into things that they're spending on or buying or consuming. So what is Onism going to help with to make those informed choices through those experiences that you're thinking of curating?
Yeah, and actually, Malika, I'd like to ask that as well. Is, you know, what do you think how are you reaching out to people? How do you think, and what's an effective way that you found, to be able to reach out and market, your service as well?
So, you said it like really well, that the millennials and Gen Z as well, like they're very, very curious and they just want to know the answers. And I think Onism as a brand, like if the word means also, it stems from like this desire to know and experience. And I think the target audience is also the same, like they have that same curiosity. It's completely inherent. And I think in terms of like just building a brand, and the main thing is to gain the trust of that generation and my generation. I mean, I'm a millennial, because I feel like a millennial is also a very fickle consumer, because today something can be like great and like, everyone's talking about it, but tomorrow it takes just one slip up for it to like, for them to move on to the next. So I think a lot of it just means like staying relevant and curating experiences that they want. So just because like, so for example, right now, like I think one of the things on my introduction also, it says like services like curating intimate personal events and like powerful social experiences. And the example is DIY gin. So it's ironic that, like we're talking, because I think right now, like gin is the flavor of the season. So why not like have that as like a pivoting point where people come around like a glass of gin, but also like go beyond that. Like, I think my generation is not one for binge drinking and just like, going out to like the same pub every weekend. They want to do new things. But the center of it all, like the weekend leisurely activity, also means unwinding with a glass of wine or a glass of gin. So like if that activity is going to happen, why not make an experience around it? Because I think especially now more than ever, like with the hospitality industry being so hit, like there are going to be people who will resort to like say stay at home drinking with their friends in a couple of months, and then they'll run out of board games. So that's where like I come in, like where Onism's website will have a number of services you can purchase in terms of, okay, what is like a fun thing to do with my friends today? So like, whether it's like creating an entire start to finish, like evening in Rome theme, like I have like F&B partners, so they'll go in to their place and like these homestay chefs and different, like, so there's this, for example, one of the events that I'm going to be launching soon is a tie-up with these two Italian chefs in Tuscany who will be doing like a web thing with someone sitting at home. So they will be sharing their grandma's recipe from their kitchen to to a group of friends sitting in India at their kitchen, and they make the same food simultaneously, build connections, and they also understand the history of the food, the culture of the food, why it's being made the way it's being made, why olive oil is the medium and not something else. They really get into the nitty-gritty of it all. Because I think it takes just like it's like almost like putting a bone out for the dog. You just have to put it there, and if you grab their attention, that's like, they're hooked. They're going to want to know more and more and more. It's human nature. But I feel like the basic point is just giving them an introduction to getting the chance to know more. Because even now, like in all Oriental restaurants, like Oriental cuisine is booming today, like in a way it never was. And if you go there, people like, I think most menu cards, like this is the authentic way to eat it. People are seeking it. More people can use chopsticks today than they did like 10 years ago. I think everyone wants to do that true to culture experience, but there are very few people actually curating like an absolutely authentic true to culture experience. So there's, so I feel like I want to like tap into that curious nature of the millennial and like offer them things that will help them grow, which are meaningful, which also bring people together and which make us feel like the world is a smaller and happier place.
Super. Do you have a question for Anand too, or a few questions for him?
Yeah, so actually I had thought like, we'd start with like a quick like icebreaker type thing with Anand. So like we know like his favorite spirit, but like, what's your spirit animal?
Oh God. Eagle. I don't know if it qualifies as an animal. It's a bird, right?
Sorry, what did you say? I didn't get that.
Oh, I said the eagle.
Yeah, it qualifies as an animal for sure. Anand, you got to go back to kindergarten. How old?
I am. I've got my 2-year-old son who I'm now going through all the animals with now. Okay, barnyard animals with.
Super.
Yeah. And like a place you'd want to visit the moment this corona pandemic is done with?
Honestly, I was supposed to go, two places, I guess. I was supposed to have moved to Goa by now. But then had to fly back because everything was going into lockdown. So it was one of those moments. So Goa. But also I was supposed to have been this month going back to college. Well, going back to the US. I haven't been since 2011. So I'd promised, and we'd all planned to meet up, and I had backed out last time as well in September last year because I couldn't get my visa in time, and yeah, so that's on the agenda.
So Malika, you have a reunion for Babson. You could curate something on Onism and get friends from Babson together.
Yeah. I was actually supposed to be leaving this morning for my sister. She's graduating in a week's time, so I was supposed to be going today to meet my friends before and then attending her graduation. But life as we know it. But yeah, so Anand, like Onism, and I feel like gin drinkers as well, like community. So like, what does community mean to you, and how do you think like your products have, I guess, helped like build a stronger community of gin lovers, and what do you do to keep them engaged and like make sure that their gin drinking experience is what you would want it, like closest to what you would want it to be?
Okay, so what have we done to build community, and what does community mean to you? Correct? Or something else to that question as well, or is that okay?
Yeah, like what does community mean to you, and things you've done to like build this community? Because there are a lot of people who swear by your product now, like in my generation at least, and like they'll like if it's a BYOB, they're bringing this bottle of gin over, say a Tanqueray or a any other product. So like why, like how do you feel you built this like journey, and like through your journey built this community which is so invested?
I think it's impossible, and there's a lot of people who claim to have built a community and everything, and honestly, as a product or as a service or in general, in most cases, it's impossible to actually deliberately build a community. I think a community gets built, depending, and basis on what you end up doing, right? And a lot of that has to do with doing the right things. Just being true to what you believe in, and hopefully people kind of vibe with that. So what we believed in was the fact that we wanted to get it right. We wanted to invest in a copper pot still. It was expensive. It was way beyond what we could have done ourselves. But we still wanted to do that. We wanted to create an authentic experience without having to think about creating an authentic experience, right? And creating it for the sake of creating an authentic experience. We wanted it to be something that that we could live with. So no shortcuts, none of that, and that's why we're generally happy having people ask us these questions, and we have a number of people who come and visit the distillery as well, and it's this tiny little corner of a fairly huge industrial complex, right? And then we're hidden behind everything in a little room of our own. So it's a journey that we like talking about. It's a journey we like sharing about, and that's where really I think the community takes seed. I don't think we did justice, and I still don't think we're doing justice to even our social media presence, for example. Right? I'm not inherently a social media guy. If you see my own profile, it's I think the last picture was like a year ago or something like that. So inherently, I love living under a rock. But obviously, as a brand, we try not to do that, and we try and be a little bit out there and accessible at least, and love answering questions rather than kind of say, oh, look at that, look at this, look at what we're doing and everything. So we're doing a couple of things where even at this time, for example, where we're hosting a couple of Zoom sessions where we're talking to people about what they can do at home in terms of with their bottle of gin, right? So it's about on that Zoom call saying, listen, here's a list, keep these things ready, we'll make cocktails together, right? And potentially that's goes to this entire thing of creating experiences. Getting people to talk about what they have at home. So if they have a particular kind of coffee lying at home, okay, what cocktail can we make with that? And again, all of that comes from, I guess, just little bits and pieces of what we've picked up by being part of the community ourselves, right? So before we can start the community, we've had to be part of the community itself. So, being even while I was working at William Grant's, I would spend 3 days a week just on my own accord, right, without anyone having to give me this as homework. But 3 days a week, I would spend behind the bar at PCO, right, which is a bar in Delhi, just learning how to bartend, right, learning basics, learning the importance of ice, learning the importance of lime, freshly squeezed lime, fairly underrated things, but because I felt that I wasn't necessarily part while I was part of the business, selling and marketing whiskey and gin and all these other things. I wasn't necessarily part of the community until then, because and it's essential to be a part of that community to understand the pain points, to understand the opportunities as well, and to kind of build on your own self as well, and feel legitimate. You can't go out and market and talk to bartenders without knowing anything about bartenders themselves. Being at Perch, I was able to be part of the community from the service point of view. So being there 2 years, for 2 years on the floor, talking to people, but also at the same time talking to the servers, talking to the chefs, and understanding that process flow that happens, at the floor of any restaurant or bar was super important. And gave me perspective on what I can or cannot talk to bartenders about, what I cannot talk to servers about, and it's just they also see through that very easily, right? If you're coming in trying to talk to people without having that knowledge, they're going to see through that very easily. So I guess building a community comes from being part of the community first.
Yeah, I think that's like very, very well said. Like, that's the way it can also be most authentic, right? Because if you feel it and you embody it, that's how it will show through when you're trying to build it.
Yeah, we haven't done anything extra special after that. I don't know what else we've done really. I think it's a community that's getting built, and it's gotten built, by itself. Malika, we've never spoken, but you obviously have the 2 bottles there already with you, so you are part of the community, right? But there is obviously some, and I'd love to hear actually how you got to know about it, but obviously you there's some source of information that's gotten fed to you, and you felt like, okay, this is probably a community I could belong to, and let's go pick up the gins, right? You're more likely to belong to the community even before you make that first purchase.
Yeah. In fact, like fun fact, like I was interning with a social media company like a couple of years ago when I was still in college, a summer internship, and one of the projects we had to do was understanding the gin market in India for one of the brands they were working with at the time. So I literally had to understand. Like, so we came up with like this whole campaign on if the queen can drink her G&T at tea time, why can't you? And like things like that. So like the whole myth of like that the queen's teacup actually has gin in it and not something else. So yeah, like I feel like I was introduced to that world back then when I was like doing this internship. And then these 2 bottles, actually my dad was the one who sourced them, because he was very, very curious. He was like, there's this, he was like, oh, there's some young Delhi boy who's like launched 2 gins, and my grandparents are going to go, please pick up those gins. I want to see them, sample them, understand what's going on. Because he's been in the business, right, for so long. So for him, it's almost like, important to know what's happening out there in the whole like spirits world. He's also a malt connoisseur, not a gin drinker so much, but he's a part of like several like wine clubs and malt clubs and stuff. So it's always like a topic of conversation at home. So I feel like I was already like in the know about it really because of that.
Amazing. Well, he's not even Gen Z or millennial, and there he is, part of the target audience.
He's like well in his 50s.
It's just a mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think switching gears, I think we're also running out of time, and tying it back to some of our students and who are keen to follow entrepreneurial journeys. So question to both: what do you think is an entrepreneurial mindset that you are developing in your case, Malika, with your experiences working in 2 startups or even working in an agency before that? And Anand, also reflecting on the entrepreneurial mindset is what made you really tick, and what would be the 2 or 3 incidents or events or resources or mentors you would look back and reflect on that helped you sort of take ownership of your entrepreneurial journey?
Sure, but I'll let Malika answer that first.
So for me, I feel like as your podcast is named, Arjun, I'm literally fresh off the boat. It's been only 2 years in the professional world. So, and even that, like I was with this startup called Open House. Arjun knows that. It's an education startup. It's in fact set to do great things. It's VC backed. It's backed by Axel and Sequoia both, and they've raised a lot of money and funding. And I was a part of that team when it was just a 4-person team, and I saw it grow to like 100 plus. So that was my only introduction to like the real world, so to speak. And I was their marketing and branding manager then. So I'm like, because I like, started off as a 4-person team member, like I was juggling many hats, like whether it was talking to consumers or just like building the brand from scratch for them, including their Instagram presence and their Facebook presence. And because it's an after school learning startup, like the education is for after school learning, it was also, doing a lot of like targeting to like Gen Z and the young moms who are also millennials because they're under the age of 35. So I feel like that kind of like gave me some sense of like the do's and don'ts of how to like pitch yourself. And then as far as ownerism is concerned, I think I just took the plunge because I knew like the times are gonna like only get worse from here, but in terms of like this pandemic, and it's gonna take a while to settle. So I was like, either I can just wait around, or I can like start building a digital presence, which is so important today, and like just like build my connections like I'm doing here right now as well. And then once the world is healed and healthy, I'm sure there'll be a market for this, because I think a soulful and meaningful living is something that's more as important as just like having the economy back on track. And that is something that people are going to turn to, whether they have now, they have the time and the luxury of like not working and just actually staying at home, or whether it's like the next strata of society which they will turn to as well in terms of entertainment in a couple of months. But it's something that's needed for a happy existence, so why not make it cultural and meaningful?
Go ahead, Anand. Go ahead.
Arjun, there's a couple of answers, I guess, to that. I think the first one is in terms of source of the entrepreneurial journey. I guess one can look back and say yes, of course, it started at Babson, considering it's an entrepreneurship school, right? And they are number one in what they do. Having said that, I spent most of my time at Babson kind of trying to run away from it. I was trying to do everything other than entrepreneurship because that's what everyone around me at college was doing, right? Everyone either had come in with this business background, family business background kind of a thing, or kind of was doing entrepreneurship classes and everything, and I made it a point not to kind of go down that path, and just do something else, and part of that was by luck or chance or whatever, discovering that something else was going to be wine related or spirits related. I guess wine related. Wine was the product that I kind of fell in love with at that point. And the way I found to approach it at that point was marketing, right? So I took a lot of brand building classes and made marketing my major, along with economics as well. Definitely found lots of sources of inspiration there, and in particular, obviously, Professor Rivera, who was that person I was referring to, who kind of took us down that journey on on this case study with wine. Old world was the new world wine. But having said that, and like I said, I was running away from entrepreneurship. I never, even while graduating, I never thought I would actually kind of start a venture of my own. The idea was, this has been great. Let's put the entrepreneurial spirit into getting a job, which was of course impossible in 2009. I think making sure that you follow through on what you and without sounding preachy again, this is just what I did. Just made sure that if I was interested in wine, I would try and get as close to wine as possible. So while I was working a job which I didn't like in Deloitte consulting, was going out and speaking to everyone I could, apply to 170 odd wineries in New Zealand to try and get a job. Got nothing out of that. But still trying to pursue this whole, opportunity, trying to find that opportunity in the wine world or the spirits world, brought me, 9 months down the road to a job in the whiskey business, right? But again, that was just me getting integrated into the industry and becoming part of the community, as we were talking to Malika about. But I guess there is a little bit of a push that needs to come from within or from outside, and that push happened to come from outside, as far as I was concerned. Where I don't know if you remember, Arjun, I'd done a master's in Dijon on wine business, right? Because I said, oh, enough with the whiskey stuff. I'm going to go off and continue following my wine passion, and so did a master's in wine business in Burgundy, heart of wine as far as France is concerned. Came back and again ended up getting a job in the spirits business, with a company called Remy Cointreau. And honestly, it was great. I was loving it. There was a champagne in that portfolio, so I was like, oh, great! This is, this is exactly where I wanted to be. Working in a spirits company, also handling a wine brand. A year after I joined, and nothing to do with me, I'll give that disclaimer. Year after that I joined, the company goes bust. Well, at least in India, they pulled out of their India presence. So again, that's that external push, right? Is to say, okay, you were comfortable in what you were doing. Sorry, out the door, and then kind of landing on your backside and wondering, okay, now what? Which is where I was able to initiate that conversation or be part of that conversation with Vaibhav to start up Perch, and at Perch, then we came up with that idea to make a gin. So yeah, that entrepreneurial bug, while it kind of latched on while at Babson, was in an incubation period. Sorry, I'm using coronavirus terms now.
Right.
Was in its was asymptomatic till I got knocked out of Remy, which I'm very thankful for now. So I will go back and thank them. I know I cursed them a lot at that point, but I guess I have to go back and thank them at some point.
Awesome. I think it's definitely a positive message for all students who are graduating this year, who might be thinking of the bad job market or non-existing job market, sadly. And also there are so many examples of startups which came out of the great financial crisis, 2008-9. There's always a silver lining, and the objective of this connection or this meeting is also to build a community. And if students who are listening can also feel free to message, email all of us. So if you're okay, I'll share your contact details with students who are interested in entrepreneurship. I'm sure they won't flood you with jobs and resumes requests, so it'll be a kind of a controlled group. But yeah, it's fantastic. So anyways, we'll sum up now, and a few just rapid fire questions. What do you think the people in 3 words describe your strengths as? Like 3 words. Anand, you first, and then Malika.
My strengths as good liver, I guess. Used one at this point. I don't know. I guess generally supportive, and kind of passionate about what I'm doing, and just thinking out of the box. So taking that passion and thinking out of the box.
Yeah, great. Malika, what about your 3 words?
I think a conversationalist, someone who's creative and compassionate.
Okay, super. So, and I just want to sum up with asking one last question about advice you would give kids who are just graduating from college, and also the ones who just graduated from high school. There's something there for them, and hearing some positive words from you both would be fantastic.
Malika first. She's closer to that.
I mean, to me, I feel like I could still use the advice because I feel so closely like in that college age group. But yeah, I think like basically just I guess follow your heart because there's gonna be people telling you like a lot of things, and it sounds cliched, but like there's just gonna be so many opinions. But I feel like the only one that really matters is your own. Because if you feel it in your gut, like you should just go forth, and even if it's something you do fails, like then you'll just grow back and like do it again, and then even if that fails, just do it again. And I'm sure like the third time at least it'll succeed. So I think it just like take the plunge, follow your heart, and even now, like with like make the most of like where you are, build connections, people like it's people that make a place, it's the people that make a community and the company. So like invest in like human connections and like just like putting yourself out there as opposed to there's a lot one can learn by just having a good conversation. So like while you're at college, like of course like go to the classes, don't sleep through them, but you rather invest in like building connections with the professors and the students and like invest in the community than only investing in the grades, because that's what's going to take you more far, I feel.
Can I take the easy route and just second what Malika said?
Yeah, that could work too. But I'm sure there's more to it. So yeah,
I think the only thing I'll add to that is, I guess, be resilient and almost put your blinders on. Don't worry about what the other person is doing so much, and there's so much of that, right? There's so much FOMO, in today's day and age, because you're always worried about, one of the things that brought me to reality was, we were supposed to fill out a survey as, I think 6 months after we left college, saying, oh, have you got a job? And, yes. And that goes into, kind of the, college statistics. And also what's your salary? And, even the lowest category there was not what was fitting me. I was just like, this is crazy, what am I doing back in India? Earning next to nothing and working in a job I don't like. So just put your blinders on. Don't worry about what others are doing. Don't worry about how much they're making. Don't worry about how good their life looks right now. Just keep at it. Find that one thing that, or you don't even have to have that one thing. Even if it is a thing that you're not sure of, follow that path. See where it leads. Like I said, I worked a job for a year that I didn't like. I got into whiskey thinking I wanted to get into wine, and ended up with gin somehow. So it's a path that you will never be able to plan. You'll never be able to chart. Even now, knowing the stage that I'm at and the fact that I'm happy, if I was to go back and do it again, I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to, because there's just so much chance, involved as well. I think the only thing you can do, the only thing you can do to do justice to yourself is keep doing it. Keep doing the right things that you think are the right things. They may not be, but keep doing the things that are the right things, because honestly, that's the only thing we can do. That's the only thing we can manage to do.
Yeah, I think what we can control is that's something we all need to focus on, especially at this time. So keep learning. The advice would be you probably have so much more free time to sort of reflect and also connect with people you probably have lost touch with. Like this podcast is an example of that as well. It's definitely a gift in some sense. Of course, the air is clearing up, the environment's a lot better. People are really thinking about changing their consumer habits, I hope. So yeah, the world could be a way better place. So hang in there, everyone. So thank you, Malika. Thank you, Anand. We definitely want our students to know more about you. And at some point, I'll reach out again and invite you to another panel discussion, which will be a live meeting. So have a great weekend ahead, and look forward to staying in touch. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arjun.
Thank
Good
you.
seeing you, Malika.
Thank you.